Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another Ask Me Anything AMA. It is Saturday morning here in Adelaide, South Australia. Depending where you are in the world, it may be Friday afternoon or Friday evening. But whatever time it is, wherever you are, I hope you are doing well and I hope you're ready for an indeterminate period of questions and answers here because I'm going to try and answer as many questions as you've got. We've got some other questions that I've had through the week that I'll be talking about. We've got another lightning round, so we're going to go through 10 quick fire questions. I'm going to let you play along with that. Hopefully, we're going to have a bit of fun. And of course, you can ask me anything about home recording, home studio, music, guitars, microphones, whatever. Life, the universe, and everything is what we're covering here today. If you are here live on YouTube or Facebook and you've got a question, here's what I'd like you to do. Just put question in big words. In fact, do I have my little banner that tells you how to ask a question? I know it sounds a bit strange, but I have this one here. If you've got a question, put question in your comment, just up the front there, question in capitals if you can. Just means that I'm going to be able to catch that in the chat as we go along. Speaking of the chat, let's say a quick g'day to the folks that we have here live. Before I do that, it is Anzac Day here in Australia, which is like our Veterans Day, Memorial Day, those sort of things. So it's a big thing for those in Australia and New Zealand. So for my Australian and my New Zealand friends, lest we forget, we were up early with the family this morning. Went outside. We couldn't go to a dawn service, not that we usually do, and I feel a bit bad, but there's dawn services. We went out to the front of the driveway. Other people in the neighbourhood were out there at dawn at 6 a.m. and we had a minute's silence, so that was a good showing our respects to those that have served. So hello, we've got Papa Drew TV. How are you? I am well. Washburn is here. Hello to you, Adrian. Wyoming is in the house. Hello to you. Kyle TV is here. We've got LC Music Tracks. Says glad you're here. I do have a question that many of us have had an issue with. Good stuff. I'll hear from you soon. Metallion 58 is here. LC from NYC. Hope things are going okay over there in New York City. We've got Jade Starr here. Greetings to you. Mr. Glenn Clark, speaking of New Zealanders, one of my favourite New Zealanders, Mr. Glenn Clark, is here in the live chat. Got Josh Gates from Josh Gates Music from California. SM Borthwick, who I happen to know is over in the UK. We have Benedict Stewart, who is also in the UK. I think you're both in Scotland, if I'm not mistaken. Mr. Dean Thornquist is here. Darren Anderson, my buddy up there in Queensland. Matt's in Queensland. You're in Queensland, yeah? Correct me if I'm wrong. Sol Rack, hello to you. Hope you are doing well. Michael Terry is here. And who else have we got? We've got Austin. Oops, I've missed. Yes, lest we forget, Darren. Austin is here. Thank you for helping my questions in GarageBand. You are very welcome, my friend. Appreciate it. We've got Tono here from Brazil. And then we've got some folks starting to ask a few questions as well. So they've followed the instructions beautifully. I've already got my first couple of questions lined up there in the chat, ready to go. So what I might actually do, since we've already started with some questions, I will tease the lightning round, and we'll do that in a little while. We'll do that maybe at the half time. Give us a bit of a half-time break so I can jump in, dive on in and answer some questions. Have some coffee. Coffee's important. Have you got a beverage? Coffee, tea? What's your beverage of choice? There you go. There's something to chat about if you got nothing else. What's your go-to morning beverage? Is it a coffee like me? Best investment I ever made was buying a DeLonghi automatic coffee machine. It wasn't cheap. Well, it wasn't expensive. It wasn't like thousands, but it was a few $100s. And yeah, I get up in the morning, put my coffee cup under, press button, get warm, hot coffee, deliciousness. So yeah. Anyway, let's jump in. We do have some questions. And the first question, she was here early and she was asking this question. So I'm going to answer her first. And that's Adrian, my friend Adrian Clement. Good to see you here, my friend. Any streaming cams you recommend? Yes. And I can't really show you because it's up there. In fact, maybe, oh, no. I didn't set up a second camera on my live stream. I know Glenn Clark's here. He wanted to know a bit more about my live streaming rig. I'll be talking a bit about that through the show as well. Remind me about that. I will forget. But live streaming webcams, the Logitech C900 series, basically. Can't really go far wrong. There's the Logitech C920, the C922 Pro. I think there's the C925 now even. They are all good. 1080p, nice autofocus, so you don't have to worry about that. They've got, actually I can show you. I can show you all of the cool things that we can do. And I can't show you the cam, but if I share my screen over here on the side, you can see what I use. And Glenn, this is part of what I do with my live streaming setup. So we'll share my screen. I'll bring this one up over here, and you'll be able to see this is the webcam app that I have. So before I do a show, I get my lights going on here and I set up everything that I need to. So just so you know, shout out to my buddy Clint. I've got two softbox lights up here that he bought on AliExpress. Just very generic standard softboxes with some Philips Hue lights in there, which I've reviewed before. So here's the controller for those. So if I turn off my lights, I go and I look like this. So you can see the difference that lighting makes when we go boom, and then I'm back. So thank you first of all for that. But what I wanted to show you was this. So the webcam, it makes such a difference if you dial in your settings. So I've got brightness control here. Obviously, if I make myself too bright like this, I look all sort of washed out and yeah, it's no good. So I put the brightness nice and down so I get that nice sort of dark feel. And then we can play with the contrast, the sharpness, the white balance, the saturation. So I just sort of dial all those in until I look my shiny best. And then we've got all the camera settings here. So you can zoom. It's digital zoom. I don't recommend using that, but the focus can be on autofocus, or you can have the manual. In fact, I think I've got it on the manual focus at the moment, but it's about right. So I normally leave it on manual focus just so that it doesn't do that wavery in and out thing. You know, that thing that's not fun. And then the exposure, which is all important. So I have the exposure set there. If you change the exposure, instantly I go into the darkness. And if you go overexposed, yeah, it looks like horrible. So dialing in your settings there. I know you weren't asking for a webcam tutorial, but that's the good thing about the Logitech. It has this software, the Logitech webcam software, and it means that you can dial in and make yourself look the best that you possibly can. It's not perfect. In fact, I think I've got too much brightness now back in my mix there. There we go. Yeah, so not 100% perfect, but in terms of a streaming webcam for USB, Logitech C922 is what I've always used, and it's always done a fairly fine job. So thank you for the question. You can go over to my gear guide, studiolivetoday.com/gear. Do I have my banner? Yes, there you go. Go to studiolivetoday.com/gear. There's a link to this particular webcam over there if you want to pick one up. Now, I did see more questions. Let's scroll on down. We had a question here from Champion Bucket Rider. Said, I've been trying for ages to find a tubular bell sound on GarageBand, iPad. Can't find anything. Any ideas? No. Short answer is no. I don't think so. And I think I've had this question before. Maybe not from you, my friend, but I've had this question from other folks before. There is a website that I tend to go to for these sort of things. And it really depends, because it depends whether you want like a loop sound or whether you want to have like a more of an actual instrument that you can use. But the website that I recommend is called freesound.org. There's a bunch of other different ones here, but I'm just searching over here for the words tubular bells. Let's see what we can find. We found a few here. So I'll show you what we got. If we bring up I'll just zoom on in, make sure there's nothing that you shouldn't see on my screen there. No, I think we're all clean. So if you go to freesound.org, you just need to log in. So it's just a free service. You log in there. You do have to check things over here. It'll tell you whether they're like Creative Commons sounds. So you need to work out. So this sounds public domain. So here you go. If we wanted the tubular bell of death, we can download and use this sample in our GarageBand project. Let's just preview it. I'm just going to turn my volume down and hit play in case it blows our heads off here. Something called the tubular bell of death sounds a bit disturbing, so sounds like something that Jade Starr would like to use in a track. Oh, there you go. You heard the end of it there. I just had turned the volume down, so let's play it again. Ooh, maybe not what you're looking for. But the good news is, if we go back to the search here, just searching tubular bells, look at this. There's a whole bunch. I mean, they're not all tubular bells. They're different sorts of bells. Let's just try this one, shall we? This loop. Oh, that's a very peaky kind of loop. Let's hit play on this one and check it out. Yeah. And here's the problem. Sometimes you get samples that have been recorded by someone like at too high a level. That one is obviously not going to be usable. But yeah, check out. There's a heap of other similar sites to this where you can download free samples, one-shot samples that you can use in the sampler in GarageBand or whatever application you're using, or even loops that you can then add to your project. So short answer, no, haven't found one in GarageBand, but go away and grab yourself one from one of those places. Let's remove that banner. And where was that? Yeah, Darren Anderson is in Brisbane. There you go. I got it right. Beautiful. So thank you for your question. We've got a question from Max Ellis here about cables, which is good timing because I did a complete guide to cables. It took me a very long time to do that video, and I covered all the different types of cables: XLR, TRS, TS. All the different ways you can connect your gear to your other gear. Here's a question from Max. Need help with a cable problem. I have a DJ controller with dual stereo RCA plus 3.5mm outputs, but my monitors only have XLR and TRS quarter jack inputs. What cable will work for this? Yeah, so I'm glad you asked because my cable video actually has that in there. So let's have a look. While I'm doing my screen sharing thing, I'll jump over to the video. Let's just do a quick SEO search. If I search Pete Johns cables, is it going to pop up and find, but not quite. I have too many videos on cables, clearly. And it hasn't even brought up my most recent one. That's all right. Luckily, I'm me, and I can actually just go into my studio and find the video that I just released. So I will find this one, and I'll just show you, because I'll show you where you can find not only this one, but any other cable that you may need. So let's jump into my videos, and jump into this one. And it's going to bring me up into the edit screen, isn't it? I need to go into the correct screen. Hold the line, please. Your call is important to us. Till I worked in a call center before. Rightio. Let's. I'm just going to pop you. It's going to play the video now. Well, that's good. If you're trying to plug your things into your... There you go. You can hear the start of the video there. I'm just going to pop your question down. Live today. Now, if you're using an audio, and I'm going to come over to the video, which is over here. Looking all pixelated for some reason. It's set it to, yeah, the quality is at 720p. Don't focus on that, Pete. That's not important. But you can come in here, and the point I wanted to make is that in the description of this video, just under here, I've got all of these. So these are all the different timestamps to show you the different cables that you can get to, and then the actual link to those cables. So for your situation, if we scroll on in here, if you're saying that you're trying to connect up and you're outputting, what you're actually looking for is you probably need the like an RCA to TRS cable. So if you've got two RCA outputs, you just need an RCA to a TRS cable to send that out. So if we click that link and jump on over, if everything's working correctly, this is like a live test of whether Pete can link his stuff properly. There you go. So that's the sort of cable that I use. If you've got a gear that has an RCA out into a TRS connection, that is what it will actually send it. In fact, that's a TS connection, because once you're unbalanced, you can't have a balanced cable. I know that's probably a bit more detail than you need, but check that out. And I've also got a website at studiolivetoday.com/cables that has a bunch of information about all that stuff as well. So jump on over to there. You should have your questions answered for you. Question here from LC Music Tracks. It says, I noticed the keyboard is much bigger on iPad than on iPhone. What do you recommend for creations? Any piano apps that are similar in sound as the one in GB? Example, High Energy Lead. So yeah, first of all, yes, the keyboard is much bigger on the iPad than the iPhone, and so is the guitar, and so is everything. So when you're using things in GarageBand on your iPhone, it's going to, like, the keyboard size is dependent upon the size of your actual screen. So there's the keyboard size on my iPhone. I've only got that many keys to play with, and it's not changeable. So if you're on a larger iPad, you get more keys. If you're on a smaller one, you're stuck with what you get. Now, the second question, is there any apps that are similar sound as to the one in GB, High Energy Lead? To be honest, most of the good sort of lead keyboard sounds that I've found have been in the Alchemy synth. And the good thing about the Alchemy synth is if you don't find the exact sound you want, you can tweak it. So I've just put it down again, but to give you a quick example of that, if we're here in our keyboard, I'll just go back to the keyboards and go into an Alchemy synth. So if we go to, say, an Alchemy synth lead, just going to pick a random lead from the Chromium Square, this big square lead. So we can play around with that, but then of course we can go into the settings, wrong button, knob. We can go into here and we can tweak that up here. We can tweak that by using this. We can use all the different knobs and dials to actually dial in different sounds. It's really hard to do it upside down. There you go. So you can go and you can tweak the setting and make it to your sounds to your heart's delight. So check that out if you want information about the Alchemy synth and the synth. Just search my name, Pete Johns and synth in your Google search engines. I've got a heap of videos there about how to use the Alchemy synth, how to customize your sounds, how to do all the good things. A few other folks have snuck in here. Gary Knight from London, hello to you. I hope you are doing well. My friend Jade's on the ball there. She's got my cable guide ready to go. I think I saw another question that I missed further up. I'm going to scroll back up. Well, I've got a heap of questions that I've missed. I'm going to miss a lot. If you have to ask it twice, if it's been 10 minutes that I haven't got to you, maybe ask it again. So, I'm scrolling up because I've missed a bunch. All right, there we are. LC Music Tracks, and we've answered your question. Here's a question from Nikki T. I got a sample pack folder on my iOS. I put it in GarageBand file transfer, but I had to do it as individual files. Can I put it into GarageBand to file transfer as a folder? Short answer is no. So what you're asking about here is if you're in GarageBand and you want to bring in samples or loops to use in your projects, the GarageBand file transfer folder where you can bring in those, doesn't really support, or doesn't at all support folders. So they all have to go into the root folder. So it's a bit of a pain. When I have had a bunch of samples, I've just used a naming mechanism. So basically, instead of a folder, just make the first word what the name of the folder. So for instance, you might have in capitals like loops and then space and then the name of the sample. And then you'd have one shot and then the sample. You have strings and the sample. You have guitar and then the sample. So yeah, you kind of need to use your naming conventions to do that. But yeah, unfortunately, one of the things GarageBand on iOS at least doesn't do well is manage sample libraries and loop libraries and folders of sounds. You can import them very easily, but you have to do them one at a time. It is a pain in the butt. It would be a much better experience if they upgraded that to have multiple folders that you can then just use and bring samples in and out. So sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but yes, that is the case. Question here from Casey Sylvan. Hi, sir, from India. How can I connect my mic and my general MIDI that is a keyboard which only has MIDI in and out? How can I connect both to my iPad, and which interface is suitable for this case? So which interface is suitable for this case? Oh, it's under here. And it is this, something like this. So this is the Steinberg UR22C. I know the regulars are sick of me talking about it, but it is, in my opinion, the best audio interface because it covers all those bases. You've got MIDI in and out, your 5-pin DIN connectors there. You've got your multiple power input here, USB-C and micro USB. And then you've got 2 channels on the front here, 2 very nice Yamaha D-Pre, nice clean preamps here. And you can use the second one as an instrument input, or you can use them both as line level or mic level preamps. So it's kind of got everything. And a similar device is something like the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 3rd Gen. That doesn't have MIDI. So if you want the benefit of MIDI and all of those things, and you don't need to get the C version, the UR22 Mark II does all the same sort of things. If you don't want to go down that route and you want to go separate with your MIDI, you can actually get the Roland UM1, which is a MIDI cable that can convert that. And once again, if you go over to studiolivetoday.com/gear, I've got all of the links to all of the things that I'm mentioning there. But that would be what I'd recommend, is get one of the interfaces that does it all, or you can go with an interface that's just for your microphone, so like an iRig Pro or something like that. Actually, the other one is the iRig Pro IO, which I don't have handy here, but I've also reviewed. Also over at the Gear Guide, if you search my name, Pete Johns iRig Pro, you'll get a review of that one. And that is a very portable all-in-one interface that also has MIDI and also has your microphone covered. But if you want it all plugged in at once, something like the Steinberg is probably your best bet. I am going to have to move faster because we've got a lot of questions coming in here. Sion made it. Hello to you. Olivier, great to see you. Pura Vida, my friend from Costa Rica. Hope things are going okay with you over there. Question from Washburn. When uploading a song to DistroKid, what qualifies as explicit? Is there a list somewhere? What a great question, and one that I've never actually checked in with. So that is a good question. I'm going to quickly Google this. Let's just see if we go, because it's probably not DistroKid, it's probably more the actual stores. So why don't we go with something like iTunes? What is explicit lyrics? Explicit lyrics. We'll see if we can find some sort of article. So we can turn off, view lyrics. What is considered explicit? So there's only really community posts. This sounds more like a. I was going to say this sounds more like a question for Jade Starr. I don't really work in the explicit lyrics realm, so yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so I'd assume your F bombs and your S bombs and your other letter bombs, but yeah, I don't know because some of my songs have what might be considered questionable, but not really. Yeah, it's an excellent question. I don't have the answer. Good question. We'll put it out to the community, see if someone can find something else. Good tip here from Jade. Yes, you can normally find plenty of decent quality used Logitech cams. Usually. At the moment, they're kind of hard to come by because everyone's working at home and, yeah, everyone's buying up all of the used webcams. Righty, we'll keep scrolling down. I'm looking, there we go, another question here. Question here from Blandford UK. Well, from David in Blandford UK. Can I get a zero latency in GarageBand on a 3-year-old iPad Pro? I have a Steinberg UR22C on order, so I hope it works okay. Yes, and it's almost like I'm just like people are lobbing these questions up so I can keep ranting about how much I love my Steinberg UR22C. It's always within arm's reach. It's not plugged in, but that's because I use it. Like I go through my Zoom mixer and then I go through the audio interface for my recording. But yes, so the beauty part of this, and again, it's a bit hard to see because it's all black on the front here. In real life, it looks fine, but what it has is this: the mix knob, and this is the key to zero latency monitoring, because what you can actually do is you can dial it down to, what's that way? That's DAW. So you can dial it all the way over to the DAW, which means you're getting your process signal through GarageBand. So you are going to get some latency because there's basically no such thing. Like this, it can't process audio and then send it back quickly enough for zero latency. GarageBand on the iPad, pretty good. I find it virtually not noticeable, especially for vocals. Only really if you're doing like a really intricate timing lead guitar part, might it be a deal. But here's the thing. What you can do is scroll this across and you can put it either right in the middle, there's a little notch in the middle, which is giving you half zero latency monitoring and half of your effects from GarageBand. So that can be good if you want to hear a little bit of the reverb, but you want to hear the actual attack of what you're singing or what you're playing. Or you can go all the way around to zero latency monitoring, which means that you're only hearing back what's going in. Now, that's obviously not so good for something like a guitar, or if you want a lot of vocal reverb or delay, because you're not going to get it through. You're only going to hear the raw sound. But that's where you can play with that. You can dial it up a little bit. And that's why I like this. A lot of other interfaces just have on, off. It's either zero latency monitoring on, and you're hearing just the raw sound, or off, and you're hearing just the playback from your digital audio workstation. This one, like a lot of more modern interfaces, has that dial you can go between the two. So hopefully that helps you out. And that's my advice on that one. The Tubular Bell of Death sounds good. Yeah, so there you go. That's you can go down and download that one for free. It looked like it was public domain. You can use it in your stuff. Here's a good one. I'm going to be talking about this in GarageBand Weekly which is my other live show, my other live show. We do 4 shows on the weekend at the moment. I've recently heard some rumors about a possible release of Logic for iOS. What do you reckon? Is it likely or desirable? Yes. So here's my opinion and my view on this. So it's pretty clear with the iPad Pro 4th gen that has been recently released that Apple are getting pretty serious about the iPad is your new laptop computer thing. The Magic Keyboard, the trackpad, all of that jazz is saying that they want this to be a laptop replacement. They would be seeing that the use of mobile for creating music is increasing. It's gone up by about double in the last 2 years. If you look at some of the numbers around search volumes and people using and downloading GarageBand. So yes, I think the thing with Apple is we never quite know. You'll hear and you'll see and you'll observe and you'll go, yeah, they're going exactly in this direction. And then they'll just pivot and they'll do something completely different. So will we see Logic? Will we see a Logic version on iPad? And will we see like more of the professional sort of apps on iPad? I think so. I would put it at 70% chance. I don't think it's going to be super soon. So I would say 12 months personally. I don't think we're going to see that like in the very near future. But yeah, it also depends what they do with GarageBand. And will they, because there's been rumors about upgrading GarageBand, turning GarageBand on the iOS to more of a Logic clone, even though it already is with Alchemy Synth and some of the other things it has. So an excellent question. I don't know the answer, but it's a good thought provoker, isn't it? All righty. Quick question here. We didn't have a question in front of it, but I just happened to see it. Can I reverse an audio or Apple loop in GarageBand? Yes, you can. All you need to do is tap on it, tap settings, and tap reverse. So I thought that was an easy one to answer, so I would answer it. Here we go. PyroSteve. If red goes faster, why were the pre-orders for the SE 2020 red a week delayed on shipping? That is a really good question. And I'm kind of glad now that I didn't pre-order one of the red ones because I would have been super sad if they were that delayed. My answer on this is that the iPhone 8 cases, they didn't have any red in the past. And again, they didn't have any black or white. So I don't know. But yes, clearly in this case, red doesn't always go faster. If you're new to the channel, it's kind of my catchphrase. I like red things because I always say that red goes faster. It's my favorite color. It's in my logo. It's in all the things that I do, and it's just a little bit of a running joke that red goes faster. In this case, not so much. Question here from Liffy GL. My GarageBand iOS doesn't allow me to move the input meter. Why? Yeah, so here's a weird thing. I'll rant on this briefly. Might even make this my rant for GarageBand Weekly this week. So you used to be able to. So here's the thing. If you're using an audio interface, you can control the input gain by dialing in the input gain. That's cool. But if you are using the actual iPhone or iPad itself, in the old version of GarageBand, version 2.2, etc., you used to be able to actually adjust the input gain of the built-in microphone. So if I came in here, if I went in and I tapped on audio recorder, I tapped on audio recorder and brought up an audio recorder track, I used to be able, see how on the left here, this is grayed out? That used to be adjustable. And I, for the life of me, don't know why it's not anymore. Like, why can't I adjust that up and down? If we tap on there, we've got inter-app audio. I know you can't see this, but you've got inter-app audio, you've got the noise gate. You can adjust those two things, but there used to be an input gain that we could actually control. You can control your output gain, no problem, like how much volume's going out, but you can't control your input gain. And I just don't know why they made that decision. You can do it with a USB microphone. You can do it with an audio interface. You can control your input gain with hardware. But why did they remove the software input gain for your microphone? Is it to make you buy more gear? I don't know. Like, why wouldn't they want you to use your built-in microphone? It has been a challenge. Now, you can get around it by just varying your distance from it, but it's nowhere near as good. Like I did a video a few years ago where I actually pointed out that the built-in microphone was pretty good for GarageBand because you could actually dial it in, get the right input gain, which is so important. If it's too loud, you're going to get distortion and clipping in your signal. If it's too quiet, you're going to get a bunch of noise floor coming in there. So why they did it, I don't know. But you are not alone. We are all struggling with that. The only real answer there is to upgrade and get yourself an audio interface or a microphone or something so that you're using that, and then you can dial in the hardware input gain. But great question there. Scrolling down, looking for the word question. Am I caught up? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm quite caught up. I'm going to scroll back up because I thought there were more questions, and I've probably just flicked over. A question from Solrak. By any chance, do you have Colossus Piano app? After that, I have another question that goes with that. So I don't have the Colossus Piano app. I have heard it's good, but because I got the Ravenscroft 275 and I've been playing with that and loving it, I haven't felt the need for another piano app. So that's my take on that, is the Ravenscroft is super, super good. And thank you to, I think it was Thomas that put me on to Ravenscroft in the first place. Really cool piano app. Have heard of the Colossus Piano, haven't used it though. So Pete, the picture isn't showing on the comment display. That I don't know. I don't know what that is. I don't know why the picture isn't showing on the comment display. Is that on here, on the actual display of StreamYard? Maybe? Let me know. And Sion has said, that's weird, I can adjust the input gain on my iPad. So let me see. let me try the iPad version, because maybe it is actually still available on the iPad and it's just not the iPhone. That would be even weirder. That would be super weird. I'm just loading up the iPad now so we can have a quick look here and see if that is indeed the case. It's loading a project. Hope I don't get optimizing performance. That would be funny. All right, let's come in here. Let's come into the audio recorder. Well, there you go. Isn't that just weirdness? Yeah, on the iPad version, we can dial in the input gain. We can dial, if you have, it helps if you touch it, but yeah, you can dial up and down the input gain on the iPad. So go figure, hey. iPad. What I need to do is I need to do a differences video of iPad versus iPhone and be able to do that. Because yeah, clearly there are some differences. The other one is the touch sensitivity. There's differences between iPhone and iPad on that one. But yeah, I didn't quite realize the input gain was another one that that was different. Question here from Dave Starr, which I just noticed because it was just underneath. I've downloaded Bias FX. How do I incorporate this into GarageBand? So a good question, and one that I've actually covered. Let's see if I can find what you need to do. So for Bias FX, I believe it's not an audio unit plugin. I believe it's an inter-app audio plugin. So what you need to do is look up how to use an inter-app audio plugin. If you search my name, Pete Johns inter-app audio, IAA, you'll find some videos. And what you need to do is go to external. In fact, I'll show you on my iPhone here, just so you can see a quick view. So if we come in here, so here in your instrument selector, if you're using another app, you need to go to the external section. And down the bottom here on external, there's two. There's audio unit and there's inter-app audio. If you tap inter-app audio, it'll give you a big giant list of all of the different inter-app audio plugins that you have that you can use. You just tap on one of those. It then adds an interface into your GarageBand and you go ahead and start recording. That's for the instrument side. If we tap inter-app audio and go to effects, if you're using the effects, so if you're using bias as an effect, you tap it on there and then it brings up an audio track and adds bias as the inter-app audio effect going into your audio recording. So that's a couple of ways that you can use that. And if you're using something like Starr, which is the amp simulator I use, you can actually use audio unit, which is even cooler because you can add that as a plugin directly to a track in GarageBand. And that works beautifully as well. So thank you for the question. Righty. I'm just scrolling on down. Hopefully, can you see the comments that I'm popping up here? I wasn't sure what Sion was saying there that you couldn't see the comments. Hopefully you can see what I'm popping up and you can read along and see the comments I'm putting on the screen. Olivia says, do the new iPhone models give better sound quality for GB than previous models? iPhone 7, for example. A good question. Not better sound quality as such. So the processor is better. So here's the main differences are, it still doesn't have a headphone jack. It has different microphones and audio output. Well, sorry, it has a different, let me start again. It has different microphones. It has stereo microphones for recording video, but again, they're not great. Like you wouldn't use those for, I mean, you might, but I've definitely recorded vocals just into my phone, especially backing vocals, but you generally wouldn't use them. In terms of actually processing your sound, it's exactly the same because the quality of your audio, and actually someone was talking about this on a forum the other day, the quality of the audio, they asked me, Pete, what's the difference between an iPad and a Mac if I'm recording in GarageBand, which is going to be better quality? And the answer is whatever the quality of the device you're connecting to it is going to be the quality. Because here's the thing. It's just ones and zeros. It's just the digital audio. So if I plug in, yes, another excuse to talk about my Steinberg UR22C. If I plug this into my iPad, or if I plug this into a Mac or a PC, and I record my microphone, it's based on the quality of the microphone and the quality of the preamp and the quality of the converter. Once it hits the DAW it's recording in, it's just a digital signal. It's just ones and zeros at that point. So, and as long as you are recording at the same rate, so sampling rate and bit rate, which I talk about in another video, but really quickly, it's just the quality level. Most people will record at 44.1 kilohertz and 24-bit audio. That's what your iPad and your iPhone support. That's what most people use in a GarageBand on Mac. The only possible benefit you have is on a Mac or a PC, you can use 96 kilohertz or 192 kilohertz and up to 32-bit floating point for your bit rate. That doesn't mean anything to you. Don't worry, because once you actually release it, it's at the moment, it's only going to be 44.1, 24-bit anyway. So it's not really a big deal. So the short answer for you here, Olivier, is no. It's going to be better for music because the processing power is going to be better, but it's not going to actually give you anything really different over the iPhone 7, except when you are recording and you're recording multiple tracks, you're adding effects, you're putting plugins on there, it's going to be way more powerful. So I've got the little iPhone 7 here. It'll look exactly like this if you use the new iPhone, but it will just, inside there is an iPhone 11 Pro like chip. So the processing power is going to be a lot better for you there. Alrighty. Okay. We'll scroll on down and I'll check what's going down. Question here from Desolate Mourning. Metallion saying, the comments show, but not the picture of the commenter. Well, that's super weird, isn't it? So it's showing the comments, but it's not showing the images. That's very strange. I'll have to investigate that before the next show. It's a StreamYard thing, I'm assuming, or a YouTube thing. Is it the same with YouTube and Facebook? Anyway, we will continue on because I can't do anything about it right now. But thank you for clarifying that. And Jade has clarified that as well. Dan Marino says, yes, you can see, but not the actual pictures. Very weird. We'll investigate that after the show. Question here from Desolate Mourning. Why can't you tell how many minutes your song is on GarageBand? Another frustrating thing. I need to compile this list of GarageBand frustrations. So why can't you? I don't know, because they decided when they designed GarageBand that you wouldn't be able to. And that's about all that I can really think there. So there's your GarageBand. You can see at the top there, you can't really be at the top there. There's just the bar numbers. So you can see how many bars. You've got your bar markers there. Unlike every other digital audio workstation on the planet, you can't change those bar numbers to time markers. So you've got no idea if you're 1 minute, 2 minutes, 17 minutes into your track. You just have to work it out. So yes, I think I did a show. I did my top 10 things that I'd like to see updated on GarageBand, and that was one of them because it would just be so handy. It would be so much easier to do if we could have the timing, and I don't really know why we don't have the timing. But anyway, thanks, Pete. Enjoy that beer. I will. Probably not yet. It is 8:07 a.m. A few hours time. It is Anzac Day, so it kind of gives you a semi-excuse for morning drinking, but there's no 2-up games and no RSL visits or anything for anyone, sadly, because we can't leave our homes, which is not awesome, but it is what it is. People are still doing their same thing. And Metallion says pictures back. Okay, there you go. A weird glitch. Hopefully it's all good in the hood. Sol Rack, follow-up question here. What about the piano app that you have? Can you change the resonant sound of the piano strings inside GarageBand or the way it sounds with the microphone's position? That's a good question, and I don't actually know. It might be a bit too involved for this. There are a heap of settings in the what is it called? Ravencroft 275. I'm just going to bring it up down here. If I think it's going to be valuable, I'll pop it up on the screen here. But I'm just going to throw it up and have a quick play and see if we can work this out. So I did a video on this. If you search my name, Pete Johns, and Ravenscroft, it's Ravenscroft 275, you'll come across this one. Am I set up here? Let's just grab. I didn't really set up to be doing demos here. Maybe I should. Note to self in future, set up so you can demonstrate stuff. But if we plug in here, is that coming through? No, it's not. Oh, because I'm not. It's coming through on these channels. So there it is. You can't see it, but you can hear it. So there's the sound of the Ravenscroft. And yeah, what I'm looking at here, you've got equalizer, reverb, velocity amounts. You can the timbre you can change here. The highs, the mids, the lows, the size, the mix, the decay. We've got reverb. We've got an equalizer. We've got velocity. And there's a heap of different presets. So if I play around with the presets, let's bring an old jazz piano here. Yeah. So yeah, there's a bunch of different things there, and we can go to like what's one of the more out there ones, like the what's this called, Quam. So yeah, there's a heap of adjustments in the Ravenscroft, and again, want to see the full review, I would search my name and Ravenscroft, and you will find that one, my friend. Yes, the picture is back. It is back. Guess who's back? Back again. The picture's back. Tell a friend. Question here. If I deleted all the records in a song of GarageBand, how can I recover them? If you deleted all the recordings, depends. If you had them on your iCloud drive, or if you had a backup of the project, if you've just deleted them and then left the project and come back in, you actually lose your undos. So whilst GarageBand has non-destructive editing, that doesn't really count if you delete something completely from a track and then go out of the project and then back in. Unfortunately, it's kind of gone forever. So that's why I say this to people after the fact and they think I'm like mocking them. I promise I'm not. But for those who are sitting there that aren't having a problem with deleting stuff, just have a backup of your projects. Put them on iCloud Drive. When you're at a pivotal point, duplicate your project, create a new version, leave the old version there. That way you can always come back. You'll always have different versions, version 1, 2, 3, 4 of your project. Means you can go back in time and fix things if you need to. So that would be my advice on that one. I like this. Jade's got a hack, a solution. Says with GarageBand and the time, just bring up a clock app on the side split screen and press play and hit stopwatch. So yeah, you can do that. You can use a bit of a manual way around it to time yourself, and yeah, that'd be good. David says, my iPad doesn't let me adjust the gain if using the built-in mic. Odd that yours does. We've got to get to the bottom of this one. If you're just joining us, we were looking, and it seems that on an iPhone, you can't adjust the mic input. We then tried it on the iPad, and you could. And then someone else has said they're trying on an iPad, David here, and you can't. So I need to check. I'll check. I've got a few different devices. I've got the iPhone 7, the iPhone 6S, the iPhone 10s, and I've got the iPad Pro, first gen, and the iPad Air 2. Maybe I need to do a bit of a straw poll amongst those. But yeah, if you've got your iPhone or your iPad right now, test it out. Go to your microphone and see if on the left, if you can actually adjust that input gain slider. We'll do a bit of a poll here on the show since we've got a bit of time to do these sort of things anyway. Alrighty. Now, if I've missed anything, I've probably missed a bunch of stuff. Question here is today happy hour. Happy hour is tomorrow. So good segue. Thank you for the promo opportunity. No. Tomorrow we've got the happy hour. So we've got home studio Q&A, which is our quick fire, like 30 minutes Q&A, where we just do a bunch of questions real fast. That's going to be in the morning or the afternoon for many of you. And then we have the happy hour, which I do around midday for me. And it's going to be all 70s tunes tomorrow. So we're going to be playing a bunch of 70s music and some classic hits from the 1970s. So I hope you can join me for those ones. Scrolling on down, we'll see if we've got... so Sion says tested on iPad 28, 6th gen, works. iPhone SE does not work. Thank you for the test run there. We've got confirmation here. iPhone 10 and 10s, input gain does not move from Wiley Smith. Thank you. We'll get there with this. I'll return to that and take a look. Quick question here I'll answer from Jefferson Aguirre. What chords sound good in a minor key? Minor chords. No, that's a silly thing. So basically, like a major key, your minor key was going to be on like your 1, 4, 5 is going to be your sort of stock go-to chords. Let's just play a few of these. So if I don't like that piano. Let's bring it back to the classic piano here. So for instance, there's your A minor. And if you're playing something in the key of A minor, it'd be like da 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 da. Then you go up to a D minor, da 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 da, E minor, da 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 da, D minor, da 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 da, A minor. So it's kind of the same sort of thing as you do in a major chord. So with a major, you'd be like C, F, G, F, C. Same sort of thing. 1, 4, 5. Then you've got the variations on those where you can like, so if you're in the A minor, you can, yeah, it's probably more detailed to go into, but you can then use the variations on that chord. So you can go to the 7th, you can go down, like go to the 2nd chord. You can use major variations. So that's something that is used in a lot of songs. So you'd have your A minor, and you happyify it. So you go from your A minor. I'm playing, spoiler alert, I'm playing Heart of Glass by a Blondie, and in that one, it's like da 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 da. And it goes A major, A minor, blah, blah, blah. That's all I can sing of that because I'm happy to get a copyright strike tomorrow, or not strike, a copyright claim on that, but I don't need to. I don't need to sing a Blondie song and get a copyright claim here. But yeah, a lot of other things. A lot of other things you can experiment with. Look up Rick Beato. He's got some amazing videos on music theory, on minors and majors and pentatonics and all sorts of weird things that I don't even understand. So that's a good thing. Good thing to check out. Now, have I seen my cameo on Patrick's latest video on installing plugins? Now, here's the thing. I haven't, but Patrick put an apology to me. Like he put something out and said, "Yeah, sorry, Pete." And then I went and watched the video, and I got halfway through it, and something shiny happened, and I forgot to watch the second half. So I assume that he's done something in his video, and I'm going to have to follow up and find out what it was. But that's okay. I enjoy the banter that we have between each other, and all it means is that he's just lobbed it into the back of my court, and it's time for me to hit a nice backhand top spin back towards him. So I will have to watch it, and depending what he has done there, we will work out our repercussions. Question here from Kyle TV. Any favorite DAWs before GarageBand? Excellent question. So my DAW, my digital audio workstation audio recording software journey went something like this. When I first got into computer-based music, it was Band in a Box. Like I literally used the DOS version of Band in a Box. Respect to my old school DOS friends. DOS version of Band in the Box where you basically plugged in different chords and it would play an accompaniment of MIDI playing those chords. So think the crappy piano sounds and horn sounds and drum sounds of MIDI. For the time, it was ace. Now, not so much. That was my first thing. I then graduated to the world of tracking and used Scream Tracker, Fast Tracker. If you were into mod files and S3M files, you'd remember this stuff. It was the whole demo scene of the 90s. So I used a lot of that and created music using samples and beats and loops using that. And you had to use little tiny 2 and 3 kilobyte samples. So use those. I then took 20 years off. I also used back in my band days, I used a Tascam Porta Studio. Porta Studio, I can't remember the model of it now, 424 Mark II. There you go. Of a Porta Studio, which is a little 4-track cassette recorder. Then moved into a software called Cakewalk Music Studio, I think. It was a Cakewalk product. And it was sort of a base entry-level product. That was 20 years later when I was, about 6, 7 years ago before I started the channel. Started recording on my PC. Graduated to Reaper on my PC, which is a very cool DAW. I still use it today for a bit of audio recording here on the PC. And then, 5 years ago, when I thought, I keep seeing this GarageBand logo. I'm going to tap that and see what that does. Couldn't work out how to use it. Couldn't find a bunch of tutorials. At that time, I think Patrick at GarageBand Guide had done a couple. I don't think Dan Baker was even creating stuff. So no one was really creating tutorials. So I'm like, I'm just going to document my journey of learning this one. So that's what I went with. And yeah, that's where I've landed here today is I've got, I'm basically all GarageBand. And now it's the flip side. People are like, when are you going to move to a real DAW, Pete? And I'm like, I don't know, when GarageBand doesn't do what I want it to do. That being said, I did just get Audio Bus 3. So, the world may be opening up. And I still have to check out Cubasis and Auria and all the other things. Sion, so my journey was FL Studio, Studio Live, Reaper, and now currently GarageBand iOS, Nano Studio, Bloxwave, Beatmaker. Yeah, Sion's using all the stuff. And it was actually Sion who put me onto the makers of Audio Bus, who have given me Audio Bus 3 to play with now. So a big thank you, thumbs up to you, my friend. Yes, the good old Tascam days. I know, right? It is interesting to go back to think about what we used to have to do. I actually bought secondhand for $20 an old Yamaha 4-track recorder. I'll have to show it to you at some stage. It's really cool looking. Doesn't work, but I think it's just the belts. If anyone knows anything or has resources about fixing tape machines and recorders, it all turns on, it all powers up. The audio goes through it. It just won't spin. The tape won't spin. So I think it's a belts issue. Anyway, let me know if you've got help on that. Jade says that began on the Tascam 4-track before getting a PC with Pro Tools, then Logic before moving to iOS GarageBand and Auria exclusively. Yeah, it's very cool. It's very cool stuff. Question here from Desolate Mourning. Do you have recordings of your old band? Do I ever? Let's see if I can find them. Let's see if we can have a quick break, because I do need a quick drink. So maybe I'll see if I can find these. Where are we? What am I looking for? SoundCloud. I'll see if I can find, because I did at one stage put all of the recordings of my band on SoundCloud. I just need to find them and make sure it's the right one. Nope, my band was called Scarpa. I've just found Scarpa, which is a different Scarpa from London. I should have the actual account, but it's on a separate account to my regular one. Is this it? Nope, that's not it at all. That's Scraper. That's a different band. I'll try and find that. SoundCloud. I'll try and search by the actual track name. Maybe that'll help. Oh, there it is. It's Pete Johnson 5. Another SoundCloud that I had. So yeah, let's jump over here. This is I know many of you have seen this before, but this is my band Scarpa. I'll paste it here in the comments for all to see forevermore. If you do want to go and follow my band, they're not going to release anything new because we haven't released anything for over 20 years. But there we are, looking fresh. There's Pete with long hair doing his thing. And yeah, this is the sort of tunes that we used to play. So let's just take a quick listen to this one here. Here's the darkness that is naivety by Scarpa. Here comes my vocals. I'll let you hear the part where it actually kicks in, like 90s grunge style, and then we'll move on from this, because it's a bit self-indulgent. There you go. A bit of fun, and gave me an opportunity to have a drink, which I needed. So yeah, thanks for thanks for the questions. Sorry for the self-indulgence. We'll move back to the recording-related questions, shall we? But yeah, it is fun. Like who doesn't love a bit of nostalgia and going back in time? I'll tell you a quick anecdote, and then we'll return to the questions. So I recorded that. I recorded that in a studio. So we saved up our money. We bought 8 hours of studio time for $25 an hour. So yes, $200, which was a lot when you were 17. And yeah, we went to this studio. It was a home studio in a suburb here in Adelaide called Prospect. Respect to my Prospect people. And yeah, it was a dude with a house, and he had an 8-channel digital recorder with a hard drive in it. And this was like super modern. Like we were using just like a tape recorder and the 4-track and that sort of thing. So we were pretty impressed by that. We recorded live. So we recorded as a band, all three of us together, drums, bass and guitar. I sang along, but then we overdubbed the vocals afterwards because it was a bit noisy in the room and the vocals weren't so good. Overdubbed the vocals, overdubbed a few guitar solos as well. And that was really where I learnt and fell in love with multi-track recording. And it's a weird thing because people come to me to this day and they're like, I want to record a guitar and a drums and a vocal. How do people actually do that? Like we take for granted that, oh, you're multi-track it, of course. You record your drums, and then you play back your drums, and you record your guitar, then you play back both of them, and you record your vocals. That's actually pretty mind-blowing for people that aren't into the recording scene. They may not even know that. They may think that every time a band records, they just have to get together, and the whole band plays and records together at the same time. So yeah, that blew my mind. And from there, that was what kind of pushed me into the direction of doing more multi-tracking and doing my music. And then, as I've said many times, life not gets in the way, but you know, your priorities change, you shift direction. And for me, it was career, family, mortgage, house, doing all that, settling in. And then, yeah, it's been the last 5 years. I'm like, it's kind of ridiculous that I'm not making music anymore because it's so accessible. And that's the cool thing. That's why I'm on this mission. That's why I'm kind of saying create, record, and release your best music. And I'm trying to encourage people like me to get off their butts and record, to write music, record music, release music, because I just think if I didn't just sort of find that motivation through guys like Graham Cochran, through Joe Gilder, through all of these folks back in the day, maybe I'd still be sitting here feeling like frustrated that I haven't actually got anything out. Whereas now, album, 2 EPs, bunch of singles, channel talking all about home studio recording. Yeah, I was able to do that because, yeah, it's so accessible. And I wanted to make sure I paid it forward and encourage others to do the same. Enough self-indulgent ranting. Let's get back and see if we have any other questions. The bass is huge. Yeah, yeah, and as Jade says, yeah, you can check out my current music on Spotify, Google Play, all the other places. Imagine me getting a copyright strike for my old band. Yeah, thankfully it's not been released. Yeah, that would be bad. But yes, it's not anywhere. Hello, Dom. How are you, my friend? Good to have you here on the show. David says, ask Dan Baker about the belts for the recorder. He's a genius on stuff like that. Actually, that's a really good point. I should totally hit up Dan and find out. Love it. Good idea. See, this is why I like this. It's questions and answers, but you're giving me as many answers as I'm giving you, and that's the way it should be. Question here: does Ravenscroft, the piano app I was showing before, have high energy stuff for EDM? No, it's really more for a piano. If other folks have recommendations for more of the EDM keys, plugins or instruments, let our friend LC Music Tracks here know. Synth 1 and what's the other one? The Synth 1 D1. They're good options for getting some cool sort of lead synth sounds you may want to check out. A question down here from Chris Harness TV. Have you ever used DaVinci Resolve for video or audio editing? Upgraded to a new Mac OS, want to get the modern software. However, I'm not excited about paying $700 a year for Adobe CC forever. Yeah, I've downloaded DaVinci Resolve a while ago on my laptop. Here's the thing. Here's the dirty little secret of Studio Live today. Every single video that's not a live stream is edited on my iPhone XS. So I use LumaFusion to edit all my videos, and I do them all on my mobiles, occasionally on the laptop. But for instance, here's the edit of my last video. You can see it there. It's a pretty simple process. You just come through here. There it is. There's all the cables. There's the shots. There's all the clips. There's the titling. It's all done here on my phone. The beauty part of that is I can do this wherever I am. I just throw all the files here onto my iPhone. I edit it all together. And yeah, bring on the audio. You can see there's the audio track down the bottom from my microphone. There's a video track, which I just recorded on this phone, on the XS. It's got a nice camera. And that's how I do everything now. So I'm completely mobile. Someone you may want to talk to is Mike over at Creative Source. He actually uses DaVinci Resolve for his video editing. And if you've ever seen his videos over on Creative Source, they look perfect, magnifique. So he uses Cakewalk by BandLab, and he uses DaVinci Resolve. There's a comment there about Mike using all the free stuff, but we'll leave that alone. He's a good guy. But yeah, I would go and check that out. But yeah, I've heard it is very good. Bring back the hair. Would if I could. In fact, I often wonder if I just let the hair grow, because I'm balding, but I'm not bald. So when I shave my head, it's just for ease and comfort. So because I'm a lazy man, but I could probably grow the hair again, but I don't think it would be a good look. I don't know. If you're a 40+ person rocking long hair because you're a rock guy, more power to you. Do you, buddy? But yeah, I don't think it would be me. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. Maybe the hair will come back. Righty. We'll continue on here. What do I think? Wiley Smith, hello to you. What do you think of Video Leap? What do I think of Video Leap? I've never used it. I have heard of it, but I've never actually tried Video Leap. Once I found LumaFusion, I kind of just went, yep, that's it. Every other video editing app I found was some sort of subscription model, had some sort of upgrade path, had some sort of pro version. I like LumaFusion because it's like, it's $30 and you buy it and it's your app and then you own it and then you get all the updates. So I much prefer that model than any sort of subscription. And like our original friend said, $700 a year for Adobe Creative Cloud. I was paying for that. I used to edit in Premiere Pro, and I used to struggle my way through Photoshop. Now I use Canva, which granted is a subscription, but that's $13 a month. That's all of my production of thumbnails, photos, design work. And then I use obviously GarageBand for audio and recording, LumaFusion for video editing, and that's it. Like that's all my expenses. And I don't have all that big bloated collection of desktop software that does everything, 98% of which I don't need. So yeah. Mobile Metal has dropped in. Hello to you. Good to have you here, my friend. I just saw you slide on in there. A question here from Solrak M7. Have you ever got a copyright strike from YouTube? I haven't, actually. I haven't got a copyright strike from YouTube. Touch wood, fingers crossed, all that stuff. Yeah, because I think I've done a lot of research into copyright and I cover it on the channel here a lot. The only copyright I've got are copyright claims where I've done covers of songs. Really, the only way to get a copyright strike is to basically get an entire song that is copyrighted, written, and put it in your video and then release that video. Really, doing cover songs, I've not heard of anyone that's got copyright strikes from doing covers. Maybe if it's maybe if you're using a backing track of the original song, that might be possible. But if it's all your own work and it's your own interpretation and it's a cover song, not going to happen. And same with video. Like I've used pieces of video, like you might have seen, I used Revenge of the Nerds to make a video. I used A League of Their Own to make a music video for some of my videos, and they get copyright claims. But copyright strike is where you have blatantly used an entire piece of video or audio without reinterpreting, reimagining it in any way. So short of doing that, I'm almost tempted to try and get one just to see how it all works. But at the same time, you only get 3 and you're out. And I don't want to use up my potential accidental stuff, because who knows? They may change some things, tweak some things, and I may get one in the future. But yeah, it's pretty hard to do unless you're actually using the other things. LC Music Track's got to run. Thank you. I normally do after an hour too, but yeah, we're going to continue on here today because the questions keep coming. We haven't even done the lightning round. We're going to pause and do the lightning round in a minute for a bit of fun, but I'll just see. I think I saw 1 or 2 questions. Kyle TV says LumaFusion is good. Yes, it certainly is. Ralph says, should I get an A10 or A12 Air for GarageBand and Cubases? So, good question. Comes down to budget, like a lot of these things. If you go over, I've got a guide to iPads over at studiolivetoday.com/iPad, and it does come down to what you're willing to spend. So I've actually got the 2 iPads I use are both running the, actually, what is the iPad? I need to check my own. So this is the thing. I say that I do this. I legitimately do this because I can't store all the information in my head because I'm an old man. I actually look up my own information. So I make these resources as much for me to refer to as I do for you. But let's jump over here and check the iPad buyer's guide, which I have at studiolivetoday.com/iPad. If we go into this one, the comparison chart, this will give us all the info. So what I'm rocking at the moment is an inability to zoom properly, apparently. So I'm rocking the iPad Pro 1st Gen 12.9 inch, which is the A10X, the 4 gigabytes of RAM, A10X 6-core processor. And I'm also using the iPad Air 2, which is the old A8X. So the iPad Air 2 still does a good job with the A8 processor. The A10 on the iPad Pro 1st Gen is good, a little bit sluggish at times. So it really depends on how many tracks, how many effects, how many plugins, how many third-party apps you're running there, Ralph. If you're not running many, the A10 is going to crush it. Like this does fine. For me recording, I can do 16 tracks of audio with compressors, with plugins, with reverbs, with whatever I want. If I was getting into a lot of third-party inter-app audio unit plugins, when I start using Audio Bus, that'll be an interesting one. that's where the A12 is going to kick in. And that's why I kind of want the new iPhone SE, because I think having the A12 in a form factor like this would be so cool. Like, it would be so powerful. It would be so OP, as the gamers say. Yes. I try to sound like I know what I'm talking about with the gaming stuff, but I clearly don't. Remember to put question in front. If you can put question in front, I will find them easier. If I miss one, it's probably because I haven't seen it. If you've got a question, drop question. The word question at the front of your comment just means I know that there's a lot of folks just chatting, which is super ace, but if you've got an actual question, that will help me find it in amongst all the other stuff. Dom, hello Dom Fatchin. Do you have a go-to EQ in GarageBand, then tweak from that starting point for all your tracks, or do you approach it differently depending on mood? What an interesting and good question. So my EQ approach, and I talked about this in a recent video. I'm doing a 2-minute tip series at the moment, and I talked about the fact that I don't EQ unless I hear that I need to EQ. So what I try to do is through my mic placement and technique, through my recording techniques, through the presets that I'm choosing, if that's a thing in GarageBand, I'll try to get it about right. And then when I'm listening back, I'll add EQ if I feel that something needs it. So where I normally add EQ depends on the instrument, does depend on the mood, does depend on the style of music I'm doing and the track that I'm recording. So give you an example, if I'm recording a guitar, so an acoustic guitar, often times I'll find that it doesn't get enough of the low end. The way I mic up my acoustic, sometimes I don't get enough low end. So I'll often add a boost in the bass frequencies just to give it a little bit more low end. It's not so tinny and thin. And on the other end, sometimes because of that, it actually also sounds too thin on the top end. So it's too much of the top end. So I'll drop that down a bit. So basically I kind of tilt my bass and treble for my acoustic guitar. For my vocal, you might have noticed that I've got a bit of a nasally voice. So sometimes that annoys me. If I'm doing like a soft singer-songwriter type song, it'll sound all nasally. So I'll find that frequency and pull that down. That's one thing I do on most vocals. The other thing is I have a lisp. So I have a nasal. So I just spit when I said lisp. I think I did. I have to go to the replay. Be like slow motion. Yeah, so I have a nasally voice and I have a lisp. So I try to find that S sound. And if that is cutting through, again, depending on the type of song, if I've got lots of compression on it because I want to boost the vocal, I'll have to go in and tweak that by pulling it down. So yeah, it's a good question. It is definitely different on each track. And I don't have a template. So I know some folks in the past have said, here's my vocal template. Here's my vocal EQ that I put on all my vocals because I know my voice is going to do this, this, and this. Sometimes I sing differently on different days, and I definitely sing differently on different songs. So kind of doesn't work for me, but whatever works for you. As I always say, there is no right, wrong, yes, no, black, white. It is whatever works for you at the time that you're recording. But good question. I'll just scroll on down. Hello, Luke. Good to have you here on board. Folks talking about the Steinberg UR12. It's hard to find right now in Canada. Yeah, a lot of stuff is hard to find. Like one of the reasons, and yes, this is going to be a shameless plug for my gear guide, but one of the reasons that I'm increasing the affiliates that I have linked that I'm sending folks to is that people are finding it difficult. Like at the moment, I've got my gear guide, which has links to Amazon, and Amazon historically has been really good with supply. But more recently, things like the Lightning to USB adapter's been out of stock for a couple of months. It's back in stock, by the way. 1st of May, they're getting a new shipment. So if you don't have, do I have it handy? I don't. I usually have it handy. If you don't have a Lightning to USB 3 adapter and you want to connect your stuff, your USB stuff to your iPhone or iPad, they're back in stock on Amazon 1st of May, week's time. Jump on it. So yeah, so the reason that I'm sort of expanding out is that a lot of the stuff is not easy to find on Amazon. So I'm recommending here in Australia, there's Store DJ and DJ City, Thomann over in the UK and Germany are another online retailer that get good reviews, and Sweetwater in the US, one that I've got on board at the moment, which is again, a lot of people use them and a lot of people like the service that they get from Sweetwater, and the prices are pretty good too. So yeah, if you're trying to find things, go over to the gear guide and I'll keep updating it. And if you're finding things out of stock or you've got tips for places that I should be linking to, then yeah, I'm all ears. Let me know. Question here from Omar Egan. Hello to you, my friend. Do you like sequences? Any iOS sequencer you like? I haven't really got into sequences. I was talking before about my history of recording software, And the old sort of tracking software I used to use was a sequencer. So it was a grid-based sequencer system that you'd program in, and it would play back sounds. And that's you get your bass sound was just a bass sample that you would set your sequence for. So I did love sequences back in the 90s, back on my old PC days, and more recently I haven't really got back into them. But again, the beauty part of the community here is I'm sure some folks will jump on and tell you their favorite sequences and share those as well. Dom says that my lisp's at 765 hertz. Love it. Love that you know the exact thing. Mine's around there, but yeah, I tend to just sort of go, I should actually do that. I should define exactly where that, do some frequency analysis on my lisp and then go find it. Excellent stuff. Alrighty. I'm going to pause there. So I know that I'm up to Desolate Mourning's question. I'm going to have a quick drink here. And we're going to do something fun because we are going to go way over time here today, by the way. Because last week I sort of cut it short and people went, oh, I still had a bunch of questions. So we may go up to probably 2 hours here today if there's enough questions here. But I want to take a quick break. Take a breath in. We've been talking a lot of music, a lot of recording, a lot of gear. We've been getting into the weeds. Let's take a step back. Let's go a little bit higher level. Let's learn a little bit more about the Studio Live Today community here. Now, down in the description, there are 10 questions. This is the lightning round. I did it last time and it was a lot of fun, so I thought, let's do it again here today. We're going to ask 10 quick questions that I'm going to answer here, and then what I want you to do, if there's any that tickle your fancy, throw your comments in the comments here, and I'll I'll put up your comments and your views, or go to the comments after the show, and you can do all 10 questions. I learn a lot. So Metallion did it last week. A couple of other folks did it last week. It's really cool to learn a bit more about the Studio Live Today community. So let's jump in here and do the lightning round. Is that lightning sound, or does it go bang? I don't know. I'm thinking of, what am I thinking? Flash, that Queen song. Flash. Oh, again. See, again, this is how easy it is to get a copyright claim. Not really. Question number 1. On a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at keeping secrets? I'm actually surprisingly good. In fact, I would go so far as to say that I'm probably a 9 at keeping secrets, because I'm like the vault. People say to me, I'm just going to tell you this thing, but don't tell anyone. I'm like, I don't like talking to people at the best of times. The last thing I want to do is share a dramatic secret. I don't like drama, and I don't really talk to a lot of people. So, yeah, I think I'm pretty good at keeping secrets, unless it's a secret about a new digital audio workstation or piece of gear. If Steinberg were releasing the Steinberg UR22C, and I knew about it, I would share it with the world, because that would be cool. Dawn or dusk? What's my favorite? I'm a dawn guy. Used to be a dusk guy. Used to be a late night, up till 3, 4 a.m., sleeping till midday. Then I had children. Can anyone relate? So I flipped it on its head, and now I get up crazy early, and I'm up before the sun most mornings, and I find I get a lot of stuff done very early on. So I'm very much a dawn kind of person, morning person, as opposed to night person. However, if coffee didn't exist, I would definitely not be a morning person. If you could travel back in time, what period would you go to? See, I'd want to go forward. I've always been fascinated by the future. I want to know what's happening in the future. If I could go back, though, I would probably go back to the 80s, because I don't know why. There's just something about that time period. Walkman, like, especially music-wise, everyone like had the Walkmans, they had the boom boxes, breakdancing, the rap music, and yeah, and I'd get into I'd get into better music in the 80s. So I just listened to pop music in the 80s, but there was a lot of cool sort of underground indie rock kind of stuff coming up, bubbling up in the 80s that turned into the 90s stuff. So I'd probably go back to the 80s to listen to some 80s music. Do you snore? We'll have to go and get a straw poll from my wife and children. Yes, I do. Here's the thing. I used to snore very badly. I then lost a bunch of weight, and I virtually didn't snore at all. And now I've put on a little bit of weight, and I snore a bit again. So the bottom line is, Pete needs to drop some more weight so he stops snoring, which I would say I'm working on. I'm thinking about working on. That's a type of working out, isn't it? Where you're thinking about working out. Place you would most want to travel? I don't know. Place I most want to travel. Right now, the shops at the end of the street's about as far as I'm venturing. Where haven't I been that I want to be? Canada. I want to go to Canada. Metallion, if you can get your couch ready for about 6 months' time when everything's cool. I love hockey, big ice hockey fan. I've seen a game at Madison Square Garden in New York. Would love to go to Montreal or Vancouver, Toronto to see some hockey games in their native place. Favorite junk food? Probably hot chips or fries, as you might call them in the US. I just love myself some some salty deep fried potato goodness. Favorite childhood TV show? I was a big fan of The Simpsons. That's probably my, and still is one of my go-to sort of guilty pleasure shows that I'll sit down and watch many episodes of. Love The Simpsons. Also had a soft spot for a little show called Full House. Maybe I wanted to be John Stamos and be Jesse from Jesse and the Rippers. I don't know. But yeah, love me some Full House. Couple more here and then we'll get back into the serious stuff. Favorite season? Autumn, which is right now here in Australia. So I actually love me some autumn. It's got the benefits of being weather that's similar to spring without all the pollen. Hay fever sufferers, where are my hay fever people at? Ugh, springtime, pollen, ugh, sneezing, red eyes, scratchy, itchy, ugh. So yeah, autumn is good because you've had your summer, you've got a little bit of time before winter kicks in, decent weather, and yeah, all good things. Cake or pie? I like pie. I like apple pie. Apple pie is my favorite pie to have. My grandma used to make a delicious apple pie, and yeah, I'm a sucker for a slice of pie. And finally, I like this one, so I included it here. Do you ever post inspirational quotes on social media? Not often. I definitely don't do it on the regular, but if something really kind of inspires me or motivates me, I might grab it and throw it out there and share it with folks. Usually music related or related to one of my one of my least favorite traits is people who don't have humility. So if it's a quote about how to embrace humility or perhaps making a little tiny bit of fun of people that are narcissistic or sociopathic, then I'll probably share more of that. So basically, don't be a DICK is what I would say. But yeah, quotes around that sort of stuff. So there you go. That was just a little wee bit of fun because why not? Yeah, I like doing these sort of things because yeah, just I learn a bit more about myself, maybe learning personal development, but I learn a little bit more about you. Let's jump over and Jade making fun of my throw up. Is that my throwing up of things? Jade is a 9 about secrets, unless it's new gear. Yeah, yeah. Wiley Smith is Dawn for sure. Yeah, love me some Dawn. Ralph, want to go back to the 50s. Yeah, see, I should have said the 50s. How cool would it be to be back there with the music and like the revolution of what was happening to music there? Yes. Dawn for Jade, for Muso for a lot of years. She would go back to the 90s. Yeah, kind of liked the 90s. Dom was a night owl till the first baby, then caffeine ruined it all. Totally my post 30s summed up. Yeah. Jade, I don't snore. I've done extensive tests with my iPhone recorder. Yeah, I should probably do that, but I'd be a bit ashamed. Metallion, great. Would love to see your comments in the comments after the fact. Ralph says, "Come to Vancouver Island, Campbell River. Definitely want to get myself to Vancouver at some stage." Here's Sion's. We've got 7 keeping secrets. Dusk would go a few years back and advise my younger self. Probably snore, but I don't know. San Francisco, Germany. Burger. Ooh. Phineas and Ferb or Dexter's. Oh, Dexter's Lab. Is that the other thing? I'll let that go. Favorite TV show from Jay was The Young Ones. I also love The Young Ones as well. And Danish poppy seed cake. How cool is that? Last one, Danish poppy seed cake. Oh, you can't do that on television from Chris Harness. Now, was that the Alanis Morissette vehicle from Canada from way back in the day? Was that the Canadian kind of kids variety show? Is that am I in the right ballpark there? I could be totally wrong, or was it like Tiffany or someone? I've got this thing in my head that there were some famous people that went on to do things in Canada that were on that show called You Can't Do That on Television. But again, correct me because I may be off on a rando tangent. Alrighty. Let's continue on. I'll go back to where we were up to in the questions. I'll try and find. So I know that Desolate Mourning had, here it is. So we've gone right back up to the top here and I'll scroll on down. If you've got a new question, again, put question in front of it, just as our friend Desolate Mourning has done here. Question, is the Stark amp only for iPad? This is going to be a quick one because the answer is yes. I accidentally hit Siri. Apparently, I'm going to ask Siri if Stark is only for the iPad. Yes, unfortunately. And I did actually ask Clevgrand about this. So Clevgrand, who makes Stark, they've made the new Ting app. They make a lot of the very cool effects and plugins that I use. And a lot of their more recent plugins have been iPad only. And I was chatting to the dude from one of my contacts at Clevgrand. I know, name dropping all over the place. But I just wanted to ask and say, any reason? Because I know a lot of creators are just on the iPhone these days, especially the iPhones are becoming more and more powerful. Any reason why your apps are not universal and they're only iPad? And they basically said it all comes down to the effort and then the reward. So because Clevgrand release apps, they don't put them out for a very big cost. They're always having lots of sales. The actual effort that goes into paying all the developers to develop the apps, if they need to make them universal, the difference between iPad and iPhone is that they need to completely redesign the UI. They need to make sure that everything's in the right spot. And it just comes down to the fact that not enough people at the moment use the iPhone for music creation. I know I do. I know you do. I know Mobile Metal. I know you do. A lot of folks do, but not enough. So if it was 90-10, which it probably is, something like that, then they're going to put their effort into the 90 and they're going to pull back on the effort into the 10. Sad reality, but it kind of comes down to that. So, yeah, I thought that was fair enough, but still disappointing because I like me some iPhone. And the problem is I record on my iPad and then I go out my iPhone to sort of listen to it and mix and get an idea, and the Stark amp sim, it's not on my iPhone, so I can't hear the amp sounds. All right. I think you had another question here. Do you get a copyright strike for using movie samples? You don't get a strike. Well, it depends. It depends on the movie. All of this comes down to how aggressive the copyright owners want to be. So they get to choose. They can say this is Creative Commons. You go your hardest. You use it. Or they can say we want revenue sharing, which means that if you use a movie clip, as I did for things that I mentioned before, Revenge of the Nerds, A League of Their Own, then their studio will flag that, and then any ad revenue generated by that video gets paid back to that studio. Fair enough, good deal. Or they can be more aggressive about it and say that if anyone uses anything of this, we're going to flag it, we're going to block it, we're going to get it, take down notices, copyright strikes, all the rest. So most these days, which I'm thankful of, most people these days will let you use things, and you can get into the whole fair use and what is fair use and all that sort of thing. I'm definitely not a copyright lawyer, so I don't know. But yes, it comes down to the fact that if you're using small clips, movie samples, audio samples, you're usually pretty okay. What I would say to you is if you're uploading something, don't make it public. So especially on YouTube, don't make it public at first. I'll normally put something up and then wait 24 hours and then see what happens and make sure that it's okay. So for instance, for my 70s show, I did a rehearsal last night where I played a lot of the songs, like a test version, put that up as an unlisted video on YouTube, and then what I can do is I'll see what copyright comes out of that. If one of those says blocked, so it blocks the entire video because I played this one song, guess what? Not going to play that song in the live show. So that's the sort of thing you can do. You can test it before you actually get there, and it will be cool. Solrak says, warning, if you use GarageBand on the iPhone 10 from 2017 and you try to use Colossus Piano with the audio unit extension, it will freeze, even though it's at 11 Bionic. Well, there you go. Yeah, so some of the apps are pretty big and pretty hefty and can cause some problems with you if you put them, if you're using them, they can cause some performance issues. Good warning. Thank you for the heads up there. Scrolling on down, going past the bits where we talked about the lightning round, and we'll see if we've got any questions down there. So Chris says, yes, of my you can't do that on television. It was a Canadian variety show for kids that had all the other kids on. Coldacre says, nice one. That was a great Canadian show. Yeah, excellent. Here is a question. How long before we get a new Pete Johns album? Well, it's a good question because it is something that I'm about to start working on. So behind the scenes kind of stuff, I had originally planned to take the entire month of May off from all other commitments and focus in on music, which was going to be creating an album or EP. I'm still on the fence around the number. I might end up going EP because I was going to do a 10-track album, but I think if I do a 5-track EP, I can dive in a bit deeper and make sure it is like spot on. Plus, I think that EPs are kind of cooler. These not cooler. I still do like albums, but I think an EP might just give me a little more focus. Anyway, the idea was to do that in May. I want to have it done by the end of June. So yes, I would say that 1st of July. In fact, let's commit to that. On the 1st of July, you'll be able to listen to my new EP/album that will be recorded and mixed and mastered and written and all the rest of it here on the channel. Now, I'm probably going to use a lot of my unreleased songs that I've worked on in recent times. So we've got the like Hold On, well, it has been released, but like Hold On, No Apologies, all of these songs I'm going to do new versions of, and then I've got things like Perfect and Fence Sitter. So it's probably going to be made up of existing songs, but we're going to go like next level on this stuff. That's my plan anyway. That we see if we see the absolute best sound we can get out of iOS. That's my intention. So we'll see how that goes. Alrighty. Bruce Stone, hello to you. Question here: I have the Zoom HD16 and want to record on the phone with an SM58 or a condenser mic. What else do I need? Well, firstly, what I need to do is I'm not familiar with the Zoom HD16. So this is what I do when I get a question. Again, you're seeing a bit behind the curtain here. I go and I check out what a Zoom HD16 actually has with it. It's because I use the Zoom LiveTrack L8. I think the HD16 is like it's a hard disk recording studio. So let's bring it up so you can see what I see here. So it's a hard drive recorder. Looks like a 16 channel, got 8 preamps on there, hard drive recorder. The question comes down to two things. Does it have a USB connection? And is it class compliant, meaning it can be used with iOS? Oh, look, it's got a CD drive or DVD drive and everything. That's very cool. A little bit old school. So I can't really tell from this if it's got a USB drive or if it's USB drive. If it's got a USB port or if it's class compliant. I'd suggest not because features. What do I want? I wanted to go to the specs. It doesn't have it. It's got overview and features. Discontinued. So short answer, Bruce, is I don't know. If it's got a USB port, you would need a Lightning to USB 3 adapter to plug it into your iPhone or iPad. If it doesn't have a USB port and you wanted to record the output of this, you would need some sort of audio interface. So you can go with like a 2-channel stereo audio interface, again, like the UR22C from Steinberg, or there's a little Behringer interface. Let me just show you this one. This is for anyone that's got a mixer or an interface that they love to use, but they can't actually record it. Where is it? It's called the Behringer U Control. Behringer U Control, UCA222. Here it is. This little sucker here, I'll just go to the Store DJ site so that we can see it. This little sucker here, the Behringer U Control UCA222, is a little like stereo RCA input. You can see there, it's got 2 RCA in and 2 RCA out, connects via USB. It's even got a digital input. So if you've got a digital source that's coming in there, like a, what are they called? Digital. Toslink type cable. So yeah, these can be really handy because if you've got a mixer that's not USB, or if you've got an audio interface that's not USB, you can send 2 channels out of it into this. It's going to be unbalanced, so it's not going to be perfect, but you can send 2 channels out and you can record it using that little device there. And of course, again, you could go the whole hog and get a 2-channel stereo balanced input on an audio interface. So hopefully that helps out with that question there, Bruce. Here's one that I've got no idea about. Do you know what your MBTI? Is that like the Myers-Briggs type indicator? Yeah. So yes, I am an INTJ in the Myers-Briggs indicator. So that means I'm introverted. Oh, I've forgotten all this now. So introverted. Thoughtful, judge. I can't honestly remember. I've done all of those. Different assessments. But yeah, if you want to know about that, in fact, I've got to know. You know, I've got to know. So if I search Myers-Briggs INTJ, I just want to find out what it means. Introduction. I'm the architect. So there you go. An INTJ is the architect. Is it going to tell me what the things actually stand for? No. So I can't find what it is. INTJ, I don't know. No, it doesn't have it. But sir, look it up. Maya Briggs, if you're interested in that personality testing. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. Yeah, it's interesting. I like doing those sort of things, but at the same time, I don't like pigeonholing stuff. So yeah, it's kind of a slippery slope, isn't it? A question from Jeff Brush. This is a silly one, but are you aware of any drum apps or even GB where you can turn the drum set around to be left-handed? Not a silly one. In fact, I've been asked this question about the guitar on GarageBand. I've been asked this question about the drums. Might have even been you, Jeff, or maybe if it wasn't, someone else asked me this question this week, that can you turn the drum kit around to be lefty? The only way I can think to be equally silly is to put it in a mirror, and then, yeah, no. Back in the day, Jade's probably going to tell us that you could jailbreak it and you could invert your screen and do funky stuff like that. It's kind of disappointing that you can't, because all you'd really need to do is flip that sucker around to have one thing you can tap that flips it around. I bet there is some drum plugin or app that lets you go lefty. There can't, if it's made specifically for drummers. I know back when I used to use, what was it? Not Real Drummer. What was it called? Easy Drummer? Something like that. Can't even remember now. When I used to use a drummer app on my PC, you used to be able to flip it and make it lefty. So I don't know. Maybe someone's got an answer for you. Matt B in the house. Question: stereo pair or small diaphragm condensers or single large diaphragm condenser for acoustic guitar? This is a really good question. So the question here, if you're not an acoustic guitar player, what Matt's asking here is, do I like to use a single large diaphragm condenser to just point at like the 12th fret, that's the technique I often use on my acoustic guitar, or do I like to get a stereo acoustic guitar recording by using a matched pair of stereo microphones? I've done both. So, and I've tried the XY method of stereo pairing. I've tried the spaced pair. So I must admit, I don't know whether it's laziness or just that I didn't notice much of a difference, but I've tried the stereo guitar on a couple of tracks. Didn't really do it for me, and I've kind of gone back to the condenser. So probably a year ago, I experimented with the stereo stuff. I just found that it wasn't the return on investment of my time and effort of setting up two mics, doing all of the sort of listening back. You record a bit, you listen back, you go, no, it's still a bit too much to the left. No, it's still a bit too much to the right. It takes a long time to get a really good stereo guitar sound. It doesn't take that long to point your condenser down at your 12th fret and just sort of vary the distance until you find it sounds good. And then because I tend to layer up multiple guitars in a lot of tracks, I can kind of get a stereo. I often, to be honest, here's the short answer. These days, I'll probably just double track a guitar and put one on the left and one on the right. I think you get as good, if not better, effect doing that. As long as you can play your part similarly, both takes, I think you get almost as good, if not better, sound having your left and your right, your two acoustic guitars. You're basically creating a stereo pair yourself, but you're getting the benefit of having that doubled sound, adding that little hint of delay and that extra thickness that you get from two slightly different sounds. So that's my short answer, but an excellent question. And again, if others have your opinion, let us know there. Question here from Adabert Atuk. How to increase skills on GarageBand? Best GarageBand channel. Well, thank you. Or were you asking me what the best? Were you telling me that you like this as the best GarageBand channel, or asking me what it is? Because I'd say the GarageBand guide, of course. Yeah, if you're on a Mac, definitely go check out the GarageBand guide. Check out GarageBand and Beyond, Lou and Barringer's site. Check out Dan Baker and check out Dean Davis over at the Songwriters Studio. They're all my go-to GarageBand peeps. And of course, go to the Facebook GarageBand users group. If you're big into your GarageBand and you're a Facebook user, definitely get over to Facebook and check out the GarageBand users Facebook group. But how do you increase your skills in GarageBand? You just start playing with it. To be honest, trial and error is the best thing. You can't break stuff unless you do. Back up your files, as I mentioned earlier in the show. So make sure that you're backing up your files, but dive in there and just start playing around. Play with the loops, play with the instruments, play with the arrangement of your tracks, the sections, all of that sort of gear. If you do want a head start, I've got some playlists of videos. If you go over to, now, do I have the banner here? That's a good question. Good test for me here. Do I have the right thing? I do. If you go to studiolive.today.com/GarageBand, that one there, that will take you over to my GarageBand FAQ over on my website. And at that, it will have my frequently asked questions, funnily enough. But at the very top, there's my GarageBand Essentials, and there's my GarageBand Quick Jam guide, which is like 70 odd videos that are all like a few minutes each that give you like one little thing. So you'll learn about keyboards in one, about guitars in another, mixing in one, compression, reverb. You get the idea. So that is what I would recommend if you want to find out more about GarageBand. Where was I up to? So whenever I jump over there, I lose my spot here. I will see if we've got a question. Here's one from Chinton CG. I use GarageBand on iPad, but some of the friends that I want to collaborate with do not have iOS devices, only Android phone and Windows PC. What's the best way? My advice on this for collaboration is to have a project owner or a producer of the project, and they have the master project file. So it's too challenging to try and all be the leader or all have a copy of the project if you're doing something like this. So I say it should be you, Chinton. You should be the project owner. So what you would do is you'd have the project set up in GarageBand iOS. And then what you can do is if you want them to contribute to it, send them out either the stems, so you can export each individual track as its own WAV file or its own MP3 file, M4A file, and send them each stem. Or if they're just adding a guitar part or a drum part, it can be just as easy to export it as a single WAV file. They import it into whatever they're using on their Android or their PC. They play their part, but then they just export the track that they've recorded. So if they record a guitar track, they've recorded it along to your master track, they send you that back, you pop it straight in there. You import it into your GarageBand track, you line it up, and you continue mixing that project. Then got a drummer you want to collaborate with, you send him the mix, he adds his however many drum tracks, or he or she, then they send that back to you, you add it back into the master project. That's what's worked best for me and my buddy Ron over at the GarageBand Guide. He's done that where he's had a GarageBand Mac project, and myself, Jade, Brian, like all these other contributors, we get the project and we'll add stuff to it, and then we'll send it on back to him. And he'll then import those files into the master project. So if you have one collaboration runner, that can really help you out with those sort of collabs. SM Borthwick says, hidden track on my new album, Chickens on Howard Street. It totally could be. How good are hidden tracks? Remember the 90s? Remember hidden tracks where you get to the end of a CD and the last track, it said on the back it was only 4 minutes, but it was actually 12 minutes, and there was like 10-minute gap at the end, and then a hidden track would come in? Oh, I miss those days. Anyway. Jade says, if you need a drummer, you know where I am. Absolutely. And we've got Desolate Mourning. We've got drummers coming out the wazoo here. Where were we up to? Let's see. Have we answered this one? Sorry for the noises while I scroll. It just sort of goes chunk, and then it goes all the way down there, and I forget. Dom, good night to you. Yes, sorry, I know it's late for many of you. Thanks for hanging out with me here. Hello to you, Chichi HD. Good to have you on board. I think we had yes. Can you mix on GarageBand Mobile? Yes, you can. You can mix. You've got 32 tracks. So GarageBand on mobile, on your iPhone or your iPad, 32 tracks to use as you wish. You've got EQ, compressors, reverb, any third-party plugin that's audio unit, AUV3 compatible you can use. So yeah, the sky's the limit when it comes to that. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, people say, oh, I would never mix on an iPad or an iPhone. I'm going to use my Mac or my PC. It's digital audio. It's whatever you've recorded, it's going to be the same. Yeah, you might have some more different plugins, like you might have the full Waves suite of plugins, but there's some pretty darn good plugins on your iPhone and iPad these days. Again, it's all digital. That's the beauty part. It doesn't matter. Like the difference the old days was your analog gear, your high-end analog gear was so much better than your low-end analog gear. Now, your high-end digital gear, ones and zeros, digital stuff, data. Your low-end digital gear, ones and zeros, digital stuff, data. So it's more important that you get a good quality sound in than it is the actual processing of that sound, because it's all going to be digital ones and zeros once it's been converted from your analog microphone and your analog interface. Hi, we've got Cardo R is here. Hello to you. I saw another question here. There you go. Charlie Kelly, how can I use the vocal and guitar effects for a live gig? Audio interface to iPad to speaker, or is there a better way to use iPad effects for solo acoustic, live for solo acoustic? I'm getting this question a lot lately, and I clearly need to do some more videos on this stuff because I haven't, and I haven't done a lot of testing. So there are definitely different ways. I mentioned earlier I'm about to start experimenting with audio bus and playing around with that. So you can use something like that to route different audio. In its most basic setting, you can get a 2-channel interface. So I've done this before. Get your 2-channel interface, plug your guitar in one, plug your mic in the other, and then you plug that into GarageBand. You monitor your 2 tracks, you add whatever effects and plugins you want to those 2 tracks, and then you output from the outputs on your audio interface to your speaker, and you're golden. Because as long as you're processing it all and you're sending it all out from GarageBand or whatever app you're using, it'll work fine. And I've actually done that on one of my happy hour shows. I played back in GarageBand, muted the vocals, and then just sang the vocals through. Now, I didn't go through the iPad for the vocals, but I could easily have done just as much done that, which is just to add a vocal track, monitor that, add the effects, record through that vocal track. So yes, you can do that. I need to do more experimenting with that, clearly. Eyes Israel, hello to you. What is a good place to record, like a room or something? Yeah, so I would recommend, I've got a series at the moment called 2-Minute Tips, and I talked about noise. If you search Pete Johns Noise, I know. If you search Pete Johns Noise on YouTube, you'll find my 2-minute tip about noise reduction. And here's what I recommend. Number one, don't be in a room like this. This is too reverberant. So if I'm recording vocals, I go, you can't see it, but I go over there. I go into the walk-in closet because it's a more enclosed space. There's a lot of soft things around me, jackets and coats and things, and I can kind of deaden the sound. And that means that I can then get a recording that doesn't have any reflective sounds and it doesn't have the noise. The other thing with noise is anything that's got a fan, so anything that is a motor that's running a fan that's going to add to your background noise, you want to turn off or get away from. And the beauty part of mobile recording is you can get away from all those things really easily. So that is why I love mobile recording. You can take your iPhone or your iPad, go into another room and record in there. So hopefully that gives you some ideas about where to record your stuff. Need a drink, clearly. Comment here from Solrak on the stereo guitar stuff. Yeah, so you can use this. I used to use this all the time. I don't use it so much anymore. So you can put one guitar on the right, one on the left, and then change it for like 10 microseconds forward if you don't want to record similar tracks. Yeah, that is definitely a way to do it. I don't tend to do that anymore. I think you get a better sound just recording it a second time because the little nuances, the little differences in the recording, I think make all the difference. So I would usually record it again, but you can do that. And there's even a plugin. There's a plugin on iPad called Stereo Lag, which does exactly that, and it does it automatically. It just gives you that extra width. Question here. Can I change 32-bit of my release to 16-bit from iPhone? Yeah. Excuse me. So the app I recommend, I get this question a lot because often you need the audio in a particular format. So you need it in 16-bit format for things like a Muse, if you're releasing your song to a Muse. So the best thing for that is this app here, which is Audio Share. So I've got the Audio Share app here. It's about, I think it's $5.99 Australian. I think it might be $3.99 US. It's not expensive. It's definitely worth buying. I'll just show you in a minute what we can do once it's loaded up this audio file like that. We can tap the tools button in the top right here and we can go convert and we get these options here. So you can see there, well, you might not be able to see, but you can make it wave or M4A. You can choose the sampling rate. You can choose the bit rate. So for this one, we can actually make this. Oh, It's an M4, it's an MP3 file, so it won't actually let me make it change the bit rate. But when you're converting a WAV file, it lets you select whether it's 16-bit or 24-bit WAV file, or if it's 32-bit, you can convert it down to 16-bit. So audio share for the win. Sion says, yeah, AUM does it, but I prefer Audio Bus 3. Yeah, I've got to try both of those, but I'm going to start with Audio Bus because they were kind enough to reach out to it. Yeah, my comment of 2020 is, where are we up to? Oh, no. It's so good having these questions, so good having the comments there that I can pop up, but it is hard to keep your spot. Like, you almost need to be able to drop a marker and then go back. Oh, that's an interesting one. I might tell the StreamYard folks that. Need to be able to drop a marker and go back to it. Jeff Brush, all of us left-hand drummers, apparently. Yeah, apparently. Question here from Sion. Do you edit your videos yourself? Also, how long does it take on average? Very good question. So I do edit all my videos myself at the moment. I'm kind of right on the edge of needing some help with a lot of the stuff that I do because I'm doing so much of it. But yeah, at the moment I edit all my videos myself in LumaFusion on my iPhone. And it depends on the type of video. So if I'm doing a tutorial, for instance, say it's a 10-minute tutorial, there's probably going to be about 30 to 40 minutes of footage that I need to bring in. I've usually got two different sources. I've got my iPhone or iPad, and I've got my webcam and my audio. So I need to sync those up, and then I need to go through and do my edits. So some of them it'll only take maybe an hour because I've recorded it well and it's more of a conversational style video. Some, like the one that I did yesterday, where it's lots of short cuts because I don't want people to be, listening in for 30 seconds between items when it's just, here's how to use this cable, here's how to use this cable. That one took me probably two and a half hours to edit in total. So yeah, it really does depend on how long the video is, on the subject, and it's why I love live video. It's why I've done my 2-minute series at the moment, because they are like a little holiday. Because for a live video, once it's done, I press the button and the replay is available forevermore. I don't have to do any editing. The 2-minute videos, it's all just a one camera, one audio shoot, and then I edit down. I just chop the start and the finish and put my name, title over, export it, and done. So yeah, hopefully that helps out. I'm going, where are we for time? Yeah, we've got 15 minutes longer. We are going to go 2 hours today. We're breaking all the records here. Samuel, hello to you. How do I use GarageBand Auto-Tune live? I've got a gig and I'm kind of worried when you're playing live that my singing will be bad. So here's the problem, is that GarageBand Auto-Tune and pretty much any Auto-Tune, to do the processing, there is going to be some latency. And one of the worst things singing live is latency. So you could add the pitch control to your voice when you're singing live using the auto-tune on GarageBand. But what it's going to do is it's going to create a little bit of lag and delay, and it's probably not going to sound good. So you may just want to practice and make sure that you're as close as possible. Oh, we do have a tip here from Sion. He said, for auto-tune and noise reduction, try the free app Voloco. It's excellent for live performance. There you go. Sion stepping up and answering all the questions for us. I love that. Love it when the work is done for me. If I do, by the way, don't get to your question. If I don't get to your question, please return after the video is processed and drop it in the comments. I'm always down there, and as are others here in the community, and they'll be able to answer your questions for you. Try and answer the rest of them that we have here as quickly as I can so we can get through them all. Can we use a Novation Launch Key Mini Mark III with iPad Pro, and would you recommend that over Akai? Please let me know. I'm really confused. Well, I'm going to confuse you more because I use the M Audio. Can we see it? Is it back there? Yep, over there. I use the M Audio key station, and I actually love that. So that's another option that you have. It really doesn't matter. To be honest, Novation, Akai, M Audio, who's the other big one? Blanking on name. Yeah, those are definitely three. Alesis. If you buy anything from any of them, you're going to do fine. Korg. I've got a Korg micro keys. Like, if it's a brand name, you'll do fine. What I say with this sort of stuff is don't buy the MIDI plus 32, like that $40 keyboard on Amazon that people buy and then email me and say, Pete, I got this keyboard and it's crap. I'm like, I know. But anything you buy from a major brand is going to be fine. So whether you go the Novation or whether you go the Akai, Really doesn't matter. Depends what you want to do. Like, look at the features, work out what you want to do, what software you're using. Most folks, 90% of what you do is just the keys, and that's why I use stuff that has full-size keys, like the M Audio 49. That's a nice keyboard for me, nice and big, full-size keys, octave control, pitch bend wheel, modulation, sustain pedal input. That's it. That's all I really need. So yeah, good question. It really comes down to and use GarageBand iOS. Yeah. So GarageBand iOS doesn't have all the bells and whistles, so you can't use things like we can use drum pads, but they're not programmable. You can't use a lot of the knobs and dials. So I would keep it simple. The other one that's cool, that's often quite cheap, is the Akai LPK. So not the professional series, but the LPK series. They're quite cool. Continuing on. Hello to you, Hussein. Saying yes, sir. This is a good channel. Thank you. Appreciate it, my friend. Good having you on board. Tim Osborne. Hello to you, my friend. Good to see you. Hope you are doing well as well. Just scrolling down here. See if we do have a question. Question here from Tim. Have you heard if eMastered is better than Lander for online mastering, and can you export in Wave? So I haven't done a lot of research into eMastered. I watched a video the other day where someone did compare it. So maybe do a YouTube search on eMastered versus Lander. They compared it and compared all the costs and things. Basically, for both of them, you need to pay to get a wave. So to get a high resolution, full quality wave file, and if you're not aware of what we're talking about here, these are online mastering services. So what you do, you take your final mix, you upload it, and then it uses its algorithms to master it for you. Adds limiting, EQ, does all the bells and whistles, and then lets you download the file. Now, both Lander and eMastered, I think, give you a free MP3 file, maybe like a 320 kilobit MP3 file. But if you want the full res wave file, you gotta pay. Like, you get the first taste for free, and then you gotta pay. So yeah, and there are different subscription models and buy once models. So I haven't personally looked into it. If anyone else has, then let you know. Let us know here. And yes, I am like you. Keep it simple with MIDI keyboard and a couple of controls. One more question here, and then I'm going to finish off because Glenn Clark's probably not still here because it's been a long time. He asked a question at the start around my live streaming rig. So I'm going to spend the last few minutes on what I use for live streaming. So if you've ever been wanting to know all of the stuff that I use and how I bring it all together, I'm going to show you a quick whip around for 10 minutes at the end. Omar has this. Have you used Bluetooth MIDI controllers with iOS? Any recommendations? I haven't used them, and I am scared of Bluetooth because Bluetooth speakers and Bluetooth headphones have so much latency. I have heard that Bluetooth MIDI is so good now that it's virtually indistinguishable from non-Bluetooth. And I've heard that if you've got a regular one, the Bluetooth MIDI adapter from Yamaha is actually really good. It's about $60 or $70. Let me see if I can find it so I can show you what it is. Yamaha Bluetooth adapter. It's this one here. Here it is on our friends at Store DJ. See, I need Store DJ to be an affiliate. I buy so much stuff from them. There you go. That might be a job for this week. Reach out to Store DJ and say, if anyone has connection at Store DJ here in Australia, let me know. Let's chat. So yeah, Store DJ. So this one here, the MDBT01. I've heard, folks, and I've seen reviews of this, and people say it works really well. Now, this is for your 5-pin MIDI keyboards, but yeah, and I don't know if there's a USB equivalent, USB Bluetooth MIDI adapter. Not sure, but I have heard people say that this one's good. The actual Bluetooth keyboards, there is the is it Korg that do the Micro Key Air, and I think Roland do a wireless Bluetooth MIDI keyboard. Yeah, haven't used them myself. Again, if anyone has recommendations, let us know. Alrighty. We are going to, as I said, finish off here by going through a little bit of information about what I use for live streaming. So my live streaming rig here consists of my live track, my Zoom live track L8. Now I don't have a camera to show you this here, and I can't pick it up, but it's an 8-channel mixing interface. And what I basically do is plug my microphone into channel 1 of that one. I then have my iPad plugged in via a 3.5mm to 2. I'm not gonna reach to, but you can picture this. and you can just hear it unplug. So I've got a 3.5mm to a 2/4 inch TS connection that goes into 2 channels. So over here on my mixer, channels 5 and 6, I bring that up, and that is my iPad. Oops. I'm like, that is my iPad, and then it was not plugged in. If I plug it back in, that is my iPad. So then I have my iPad in stereo, and I can bring that fader up and down. Clearly, I need to do another one of these. The USB audio, so if I play back audio, so earlier when I was playing, do I still have it up here? I got rid of it. But if I'm playing, like, let's just play back a video here on my PC. That's on another channel. In your home studio, it can be confusing at times. And if I bring this up, cable you need to connect one device to another. So in this video, I'm going to break it down and make it simple. So this video is going to be in 4 parts. And there you go. I can actually bring in the video and the audio from over there by sharing my screen in StreamYard and then bringing that up. That's on a separate fader. That's channel 7 here on my mixer. So the beautiful part about using a mixer for live streaming is that I can use USB audio to play back what's actually coming through my PC on one channel. I can have my iPad plugged in down here, and my iPad plugged in to another stereo channel and bring that one up and down. My mic in channel 1, and then when I'm doing sort of live performances, my guitars in channel 2. That's what I'll be using for the live show tomorrow. And then channel 3 and 4 are extras. So when I've had my wife and my daughter sing along, I'll put them on channel 3 and 4. So an 8-channel mixer, can't recommend it highly enough for live streaming, has made a big difference for me. And it's not that one, but in fact, if I do this, if we go Pete John's Zoom live track, we'll be able to see, you'll be able to see what the mixer looks like. It's this one here. So you can check out those videos and see an actual live streaming test of me using the mixer. It is that one there, and you'll be able to take a look at how that all works. So that's the audio side. Pretty simple. The actual StreamYard service that I use, and this is going to be a bit weird. It's going to do a, yeah, it's not going to work, is it? I'm going to put this video over here, and it's going to do that weird thing, isn't it? Yeah, but you can see there, that's what it looks like when I'm watching over here. So that's my interface doing the infinite thing going down there, and yeah, I'll bring that back over here. But yeah, so that's what StreamYard looks like. I'll do a proper StreamYard tutorial in the future because that probably just freaked out a bunch of people. But yeah, this just gives me an interface where I've got my webcam, I've got my screen recorder, and then I've got all the comments down the side, which is what I can pop in here. I can put the banners and things like I do. So if I want you to go to studiolivetoday.com, I can pop that up. And as I'm reading the comments down the side here, whenever I click on those, it just pops it straight up like that. And it'll show who's commented and what they've said. So that's that. The video, I mentioned at the start, I use the Logitech C922 Pro, which is a very cool webcam for streaming. It gives 1080p quality, really good picture, nice depth, nice clarity here. I did mention at the start that I have 2 soft boxes for my lighting. So there and there are 2 soft boxes. I have the Philips Hue control here, so I can turn those off, and I go like this. I can turn them back on, and you can see the difference that lighting makes with your camera. Now, the camera will not be that bad. I've got it set for these lights, so you can dial in the settings on that camera. And in fact, I showed that earlier. I'll just show you quickly again here over on the screen that we can dial in the settings for the camera over here. So you've got a bunch of different settings here around brightness, contrast, sharpness. So you can see I've got the brightness way down because the lights are off. If the lights are on, if I did have the lights off, you can turn the brightness of the camera up and you can still get a decent sort of quality. So it's not that it's terrible if you don't have any lighting. It's just much, much better if you do have lights, and you get a much better picture like that. Oh, there we go. Right back to there. And that's basically it. It's a pretty simple setup. I don't use, for these sort of things, I don't use OBS. I don't use any sort of complex templates or streaming setups or anything. My main aim is to get high quality audio coming in. So decent quality audio that you can hear, and then to make sure that the scenes and the transitions are smooth, that I can share my screen there. The other thing that you might have noticed is that sometimes I'll actually share, and you'll see this in the Q&A show tomorrow, and also in GarageBand Weekly sometimes, I'll share my iPad or iPhone screen. And to do that, I use an app called Reflector 3. In fact, let's do it real quick. because we've got a couple more minutes here. If we go, I'll just load up the app here on my PC. I use a PC, by the way, as opposed to a Mac. A lot of people assume I'm a Mac guy because I'm an iPhone and iPad guy, but I actually use a PC. So here we go. Here is the app, Reflector 3, and all I need to do is over here on my iPad, which I know you can't see, I've got this called Desky. I just use my screen mirroring, which you can see here. Screen mirroring, I tap on Desky, just like you would if you're connecting to a Mac or to an Apple TV or something like that. And then I can just bring on over my iPad. And there it is. And because it says it uses AirPlay, I then plug in my audio so it doesn't use AirPlay. And then you can see and hear, because it's coming through the channels on my mixer and the screen's coming up there. Now, there is lag. So if I do, see the lag there? Yeah, so unfortunately, I could use an HDMI output, except that Apple doesn't allow HDMI outputs. It scrambles it. It's a whole bunch of compatibility stuff. I'm working on it. Hopefully, we'll get a better solution in the future. But that is how I share that out there. And that is pretty much it. I will do a full video and actually show properly how I set up and how I do everything in the future. But that is the basics of it. The microphone I use here, by the way, is an Audio Technica AE3300. I used to use the AT2020. This is a second-hand mic that I picked up for about $100, $150. It's like a pretty expensive mic, and it's a handheld condenser microphone. So it does a good job. Nice volume, nice clarity. I've changed to just using this as opposed to a pop filter. So I'm a little bit poppier on my P's, but I'm a lot more comfortable when I'm presenting and when I'm doing things. Just going to close out some of these apps before we finish up. We'll stop sharing that. Boom. Stop mirroring. All right. So that is it. We are going to have to finish up because we are at the 2-hour mark, and you can probably tell by my voice that it's kind of at the limit. So I apologize. I know I've missed some of the late questions that came in here, but if you do have those questions, please drop them down in the comments below. Once the video is processed, you'll be able to go back to the replay, watch it from the start, find out what went on here, and if you have any comments or questions, drop them there. You can also reach me via email. It is pete@studiolivetoday.com, which I was going to throw up, but then forgot. Don't have it there. And of course, the best place to go is that one there, studiolivetoday.com. You can find out all the ways to follow me on all the different social platforms and ask questions and join the community there. Thank you everyone for being here today. Join me again tomorrow. We've got home studio Q&A. If you've got even more questions about home recording, we've then got the happy hour, all 70s edition tomorrow as well. And then join me for GarageBand Weekly the following day. Have a great evening, afternoon, morning, folks, and I'll chat to you soon. Bye.